Hey folks, Chad here with Exodus Trail Cameras. Today, Cameron and I are out in the timber on a piece of public, hanging some kind of last-minute cameras. Cameras that are really geared towards that pre-rut, maybe that first or second cold front in October. And of course, we're out here putting cell cameras up. And we're in I'm going to call this a creek bottom, basically. It's kind of river bottom ground with several outlets or inlets kind of flowing through this area. Of course, the water table is pretty low here now, so it's somewhat dry, but there's a couple bodies of water flowing into the river bottom. And the last time we were in here a couple years ago, we knew that this was a bedding area just to our north. But as we were walking through here, boom, adjacent to this bedding area, there's a primary scrape, and it's being worked, it's being pawed up. The licking branches are still being used, they're all broken up. So today's video is going to be all about how we set up cell cameras or trail cameras to maximize your intel on primary scrapes. So the first thing that we probably want to touch on for us, when we're setting cell cameras up, we want to set these cell cameras up on these primary scrapes that are close to bedding, areas that we don't want to come in and check those cameras. If you're wanting to run scrapes or run cameras on scrapes on field edges, or food sources somewhere where it's less intrusive and you're just using it for kind of an inventory situation, that's where I would focus my standard SD card cameras. But when you're back in tight to bedding, where there's a good chance of daylight activity going on, and you really only want to come in here when you hunt, these are the types of sets or areas you want to put your cell cameras in. So what we have here is an Exodus render setup with an SP18. So we have that external power source coupled with those internal lithium batteries. We're about 6 amp hours capacity with no charge, so we should get a full season out of this set. The camera's set up in photo mode with a pretty rapid recovery time, so 15-second trigger delay, 15-second recovery time on that camera. You know, when we're setting cameras up on these types of scrapes, on these primary scrapes, it's very important to us that that camera is not noticeable to the deer. We don't want deer to come in and have their movements or their attitudes, I guess, to change because of a camera that's in their face. So one of the very important things when we kind of came into this area and picked what tree we wanted to actually hang that camera is the, I guess, location or orientation. Orientation is a better word. The orientation of that camera to this scrape and how deer are coming in and leaving the scrape. So what we're seeing here is kind of a trail coming out of the west and kind of cutting through here, going out towards this river bottom. We're following this creek. So the line of travel for these deer are right here. Now, a lot of guys would come in here and see this tree 10 feet away from the scrape and want to set a camera there. So there's a big misconception of how trail cameras actually work and actually how PIR sensors work. And we have a great blog that kind of breaks down the technical side of that, which we'll have in this video description. But to cut it short, you always want to have your cameras perpendicular or off to the side of that movement. So if you were to set a camera up right here, knowing that this movement is coming this way, a lot of guys would want to shoot down this trail, have the scrape here, and also get all of the activity or movement coming head on the camera. And typically with a dual element sensor, all trail cameras are going to struggle because of that dual element and the manner that they work. So it's super important that if you can recognize the direction of movement, that you get your camera perpendicular to that movement where they're coming across your field of detection. Your camera will be much more efficient. Let me just walk you over and show you exactly where we have this camera set up. It's probably 25 or 30 feet away from the scrape. It's not in a deer's face. It's on a specific tree with specific settings and specific height. So let's go take a look at that. So we have this set up, like I said, with an SP18, but you'll notice the SP18 is on the back side of this tree, so it's not noticeable. This tree is a little bit smaller in diameter than what we would like to have, but we're going to make it work. So it's a split trunk tree with 3 trunks, and it kind of breaks up the side profile of this camera. And then we have some other, vegetation here that kind of breaks up anything looking this way. So the camera is not very visible. It's about 5.5, 6 feet off the ground. It's not down at eye level for any animals. So those are the biggest, most important things. Regardless of how you like to run your cameras, those are 3 important things that we always make sure we hit that checklist when we're setting these up on these primary scrape areas. This particular camera is going to be in photo mode, so if I was using a regular SD card camera, I would probably have that in video mode, but because it's a cell cam, we can transmit videos with this cell cam, and maybe we might change that as we see this scrape actually heat up with more buck movement. And right now, most of the activity here at the beginning part of October are doe family groups coming out of this bedding area. So this camera is set up in photo mode. It's set up in real-time transmission, which is super important to us. We want to have those photos transmitted in real time because we are in the season, and if a buck shows up here 3 o'clock in the afternoon, then this piece is close enough and we're able to leave work or whatever we're doing and come hunt. So we want to make sure this is in real time throughout the season, as long as we have access to hunt this piece. If we don't have access to hunt this piece, then we can change that trigger delay or the upload frequency to maybe 3 hours, 6 hours, 24 hours, whatever we want. But for the time being, it's going to be in real time, and we're going to run the shortest trigger delay that we can in that real-time setting, just because we want to make sure as these deer start to funnel out of this bedding area that we're not missing any photos. So we have it set up for a 15-second trigger delay, which is the fastest recovery time or trigger delay this camera can have in real time. So if we change this to 24-hour uploads or a delayed upload frequency, we'll go ahead and run that trigger delay down, maybe down to 1 second. We're also probably going to set this up on a burst, so it's going to be a 2 or 3 shot burst. So as these deer come in the frame, there's 1, 2, or 3 pictures as these deer come in the frame, into detection, and then actually start working that licking branch or pawing the ground. So again, this is I'm not saying this is the only way to skin a cat, but this is how we run specific cameras in these primary scrape areas. It's super important that you're not intrusive. So with the availability of these cell cams, that's where we're kind of placing these through October, through the pre-rut, and then even the rut. So we'll leave this soak here, and we'll see what happens. So if you guys have any questions on this setup, be sure to drop them in the comments below. Smash that subscribe button for us and hit the bell notification.